you the latest on later editions of Newshead. Reporting live in Coxsackie.
Hello. Welcome. Hello. Just watching about the strike.
Online as we continue to follow this developing story and bring you the latest.
Practical brawl almost broke out at New York's Coxsackie prison, maximum security prison. Some former inmates showed up and started kind of giving his side of things as far as they want the corrections officers to start wearing body cams. Of course, they don't want that. And this dude's like, yeah, because you keep on beating on us. Which isn't funny, but another big debate is this getting rid of solitary confinement, which is highly debatable, to say the least. It's probably pretty inhumane, and at the same time, there's not many other punishments you could do to these guys that have life sentences. When they, do something crazy or violent, putting them in solitary confinement is like the only deterrent for keeping these guys in line. Because it is so bad, some people can handle it, but it's more than just a solitary. It's reduction in food, reduction in liberties as far as showers and stuff like that. Rec showers, they take all that pretty much away from you. A big part of what's going on. The prisons are so short-staffed, and like everybody, it's like the trend of every business, every company, less and less people, and the ones that are there doing more and more. It's very common in nursing. You see a lot in nursing, manufacturing, corrections. I mean, just let me paint a little picture. Imagine you're at work, and I'm sure this happens to a lot of you. You show up to work, you barely made it, you feel like shit, didn't bring a lunch. Next thing you know, you're mandated for a double. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I haven't eaten, I haven't slept, I don't feel good. And before that shift is over, they tell you it's going to be a triple. I mean, you haven't slept, you haven't ate. Now, imagine if your job is working with dynamite and you're in that kind of environment. I think in a lot of ways working with maximum security inmates is more dangerous than working with dynamite. Dynamite's somewhat predictable. So then you're on a triple shift on no sleep with no food, and now you're watching 300 inmates by yourself, which is not uncommon. Watching the entire lunchroom, one guard. I just saw Kathy Hochul in the news spouting off that they reached a deal, but they really didn't. None of the real demands are being met. They need to hire more people. I think one of the things she threw at them was a little increase in their overtime pay, which isn't really what they want. These dudes are all banking, just cranking in overtime. It's not about money. It is not about money. They all got plenty of it. They're all making $100,000 or more because of mad amounts of overtime. They're super short-handed to begin with, and then people start calling off and getting sick and bad weather. Before you know it, you're living there And that happens at a lot of companies and factories, but at a prison, it's a little bit different. And saying, like, you know, the plant with the snack machines and, you know, smoking whenever you want, stuff like that. You're surrounded by people that just would love nothing better than to get their hands on you. And especially lately, because they are so short-handed and they are working so much overtime, they're not giving the inmates their required rec, showers, trips to commissary, phone calls, visitation, all the important stuff. They'll come up with some shit excuse why they can't let the inmates go to commissary week after week after week. Because there's not enough guards to really watch everything. And the ones that are there are shot because they're on a triple. Imagine how dangerous that is. And I've been on many a triple. I was the overtime king of my company. I had like something like 5,000 hours of overtime. The 1 year, 4,000 the year before that, and I was just always an overtime hound and worked every bit of it. I worked, you know, 7 days a week, all double shifts, sometimes even more than that, for months on end without a day off. So I know what it's like. You know, you get tired, you get exhausted, you're not as sharp, you're not as focused. Tend to start missing things and not being as sharp as normal. When you're working with dynamite, prisoners will turn, I bet, even quicker than dynamite. There was just a takeover in like a Collins medium security prison. The inmates took over like 3 floors of the prison. They didn't really run too many stories about it. I wonder if I can find it. Let's see.
On the mediation that's underway as well.
I've been a pastor for over 20 years. This is a very important message that I urge every American to pay close attention to, especially if you live anywhere near these cities. If you've been paying attention to recent events,
2 weeks ago, situation is still ongoing.
I'm Derek Hyde outside of the Collins Correctional Facility, where I have been all afternoon, following what I'm told is an incident within the prison where inmates have barricaded themselves inside of at least one of the dormitories. I'm told by a representative with the Corrections Officer Union that those dormitories can hold up to 56 inmates at once. Now, we have been told by the Department of Corrections that all of the inmates and all of the corrections officers have been accounted for. However, I'm told a different story by the Union of the corrections officers. I'm told by them that at least 3 of those officers have been injured. I'm told that it's minorly, but they still are working to confirm that. Now, I'm hearing multiple things about what is going on inside of this facility more specifically. I did reach out to the Department of Corrections to try and get those confirmed. We are working to get that, and I'll provide you some more updates later on throughout the day. But for now, outside of the Collins Correctional, and I'll provide you some more.
You suck. Yeah, you don't want to be a hostage, prison guard hostage. It'll make fucking war crimes look like child's play. Things that they do to those dudes. They'll hold a blowtorch to your head till it explodes, which they did. That's why you don't really want to mistreat them either, which, I don't know. I imagine a lot of people do. I don't know. I can't mistreat people even in a situation like that. I think I would still, not mistreat some somebody. Not just because of the fear of retaliation, just because I just am not that type of personality, I guess. But that could save your ass too. If you're, if you're decent to those dudes, they're not gonna slice you up, slice and dice you if they ever get their hands on you. These are all the same. These are all the same like channel. Sucks.
As the Collins Correctional Facility in Erie County remains on lockdown, I'm Derek Hyde, and I'm seeing your request to keep looking into what actually happened there on Wednesday.
I mean, obviously, when you look at the press release, that's a generic, watered-down version of what happened.
That's Vinny Blasio, a 27-year veteran of the New York State Department of Corrections. He says his former employer's description of Wednesday's incident at Collins does not match what his friends working inside are telling him.
I mean, let's be honest and call it what it is. It was a takeover of the jail by inmates, and it was a riot.
Here's what the state is saying happened. At some point Tuesday night, officers used force to recover cell phones from an inmate, but that situation was, quote, de-escalated by staff, and inmates returned to their dorms. However, despite claiming staff de-escalated the situation, the state also says later that morning there were threats that caused staff members to exit their posts at the dorm inside the prison, and the commissioner of the entire department traveled to Collins, activated emergency protocols, including negotiating teams, and locked the entire prison down for more than a day. No inmates were injured. One officer suffered minor injuries. No mention of a riot, all according to the state. But this description of what happened still left me with questions, so I reached out to the Department of Corrections and asked, if staff and supervisors already de-escalated the situation, why were there threats made to them? And why did the COs have to exit the dorm? And why did Commissioner Martuscello travel to Collins, activate emergency protocols, and issue a lockdown? I asked these questions both Wednesday and Thursday. Still no answer to any of them.
Obviously, something serious happened at Collins Correctional. Everyone's downplaying.
Under the Freedom of Information law, both Blasio and I have requested body camera footage of this incident.
And the same thing comes to light every single time. It's under investigation. It's a way to get out of oil.
Thursday evening, I just reviewed a video from a state budget hearing. Corrections Commissioner Daniel Martuscello was there. Here's his response to lawmakers when asked what happened in Collins.
On the early morning hours yesterday, a sergeant encountered multiple individuals in one queue. When he engaged them, the individual ran from the sergeant. They followed him to a bathroom. A use of force ensued, and they wound up finding two contraband cell phones. Other contrary people on the dorm became agitated because they didn't understand why the force was being used, why they were chasing the individual. The staff on scene, including the sergeant, did a great job of de-escalating that situation and resolved it, and everyone went back to the queues. Later that morning, there was a potential threat that staff identified, and as a result, they left the dorms. We actually didn't lose the dorms, they walked off the dorms because of perceived threat.
Did that happen before? Was the last time that we had a situation where there was no adult supervision in the dorms?
Well, the staff remained outside of the dorm itself.
They barricaded themselves in.
They did not barricade themselves in. That is not true. I was outside of that facility yesterday. The incarcerated remained communicative with people on the other side of the door that we locked, right? And we were in constant communication with those individuals. So a lot of false narratives around that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I will continue to look into this for you and let you know when we have some updates. For a voice for Erie County.
There's so much BS with New York is so corrupt and so full of shit.
Ginger. Recent study in renal nutrition concluded that
I guarantee that whole takeover
was attenuated with
boiled down to the inmates not getting their privileges and their commissary and their telephone calls and their visits and their showers and their rec. I guarantee that's what it is.
Farley, thank you. Inmates at the Collins Correctional Facility remain locked in their cells tonight after some of them took multiple dorms over at the state prison. Now, this is one of many facilities that union leaders and other state leaders have raised concerns about staffing levels. Our Dylan Morello is outside Collins Correctional with the latest details tonight. Dylan.
God, staffing levels, that's what it all boils down to.
Dave, we can't confirm right now that all staff and prisoners
You can
are
shovel
safe
money
at this hour.
at the corrections officers. It doesn't make it any safer. It doesn't get them any more time with their families.
Couple hours. Now, the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision tells us prisoners took over and barricaded themselves inside 3 separate dorms today after a prisoner was found attempting to discard contraband. There was a use of force which resulted in the recovery of 2 cell phones. Now, guards calmed down the situation, returning the prisoners to their cells, but were threatened by those in the dorm and evacuated safely. DOC's Commissioner Daniel Marticello arrived at the prison this morning, ordering the lockdown and restored guards peacefully to the units. For some, though, that isn't enough. State Senator George Borrello, in a statement, said that Marticello ordered prison superintendents to treat 70% staffing capacity as full staffing, with the HALT Act, which sets limits on how long inmates spend in solitary confinement, putting men and women who keep our prisons safe in danger. The union agrees.
There have been a couple of assaults at Collins in the last couple of months. It's obviously indicative of the entire climate statewide. Inmate on-staff violence is at record levels. For the last 3 years, we've been continuing to see a single-season record, as well as inmate-on-inmate violence. There's a number of factors that go into that. The HALT Act, obviously, having really no disciplinary system set up for inmates from attacking staff, as well as staffing. Since 2023, January of 2023, we are down over 2,100 corrections officers and sergeants.
I wonder if my phone's picking all that up.
Republican Assemblyman David
That's what it all boils down
said
to.
this incident jeopardizes the lives of both inmates and staff. Meanwhile, Jerome Wright, co-director of a prison rights group who was incarcerated for more than 30 years, says New York prisons are a powder keg, calling for better treatment of incarcerated people, including reduced use of solitary confinement. Now, while everything is under control at this hour, Docs tells us that the prison will remain on lockdown as they complete a full prison grip.
Yeah, they didn't report shit else about it. Everything they're talking about is all BS. Just like the strike, where they're on there saying they struck a deal. They struck a deal. No, watch. And technically, they're not allowed to strike. It's illegal. They could actually, technically, be subject to arrest for it, which I don't think they'd ever do. But people are like, oh, they're just being babies about it and shit. Fuck that. They're wicked short-handed all the time, and they're getting hours shoveled down their throat, mandatory. It's just nuts. I know a handful of guards at Attica, including even the guy next door. Pretty cool stories to be talking about. Giving breakfast to that Mark David Chapman every day. He's just like by himself. The guy that shot John Lennon. Which is odd that he's still never going to get out. But the dude that shot President Reagan, killed 2 people, he's out playing his guitar, singing his song. Hinckley. He's even got a YouTube channel, believe it or not, John Hinckley. The dude that shot Ronald Reagan for Jodie Foster's got a YouTube channel where he sings. He plays a shitty guitar singing But anyway, yeah, New York's a trip. New York sucks. It really does. We need some Doge in this government around here, because New York's just way top heavy. I've heard that New York State is the biggest employer in the entire world. They'll argue that, but try and find out how much New York takes in on tolls. You can't. It's impossible. There's no number. They cannot come up with a number. Can't even imagine the money the toll booths in New York bring in. The bridges, every bridge is like $6 to cross it, and they average like 600,000 cars a day. It's insane. Every bridge, that's not all of them. It's like each bridge. But anyway, yeah. Good luck to those corrections officers. That's dangerous, man. I feel for them. And they, they're doing it. They're losing money. They can't afford to not be working, and they're also breaking the law. So it's serious, pretty much. But it'll be interesting what Hochul's next move is. Have a good one. Bye-bye.